Hi, and welcome to English-Fabule. Are you learning English? Great. Let's learn English with a very interesting story. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. Let's get started.
It was the cold winter of 2026 when a very important journey began. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer boarded a plane to China. This trip was historic. For 8 long years, no leader from the United Kingdom had visited China. Prime Minister Starmer was not alone. He traveled with around 60 of Britain's most powerful business people, from major banks to big companies. Their mission was clear: to repair the broken ties with China, a global superpower. For nearly a decade, the relationship between Britain and China had been very bad. It was like a deep freeze, with little trust and much disagreement. Prime Minister Starmer wanted to end this. He aimed to reset the relationship, hoping for a new start. Britain's economy was struggling greatly. Many jobs were at risk and growth was slow. Starmer felt that engaging with China's vast economy was the only path to help Britain get stronger. This was a very risky decision, but he felt it was necessary for the country's future. Before his flight, Prime Minister Starmer made a simple but controversial statement: China matters. This one sentence caused much talk. For some, it meant new economic chances. For others, it brought worries about China's past actions and human rights. This journey promised great opportunities for business and money, but also serious political dangers and tough choices. After years of public hostility and distrust, could one trip truly fix the deep rift between these two nations? Or was Prime Minister Starmer stepping into a dangerous trap? The future of Britain's economy and its place in the world depended on this visit. We will next uncover the many big problems and explosive events that pushed these two powerful countries to the edge of a complete break. 2. Why they stopped talking. The good relationship between the United Kingdom and China did not last. Once, people called it a golden era. But over 8 years, trust broke down and open anger grew. Many things led to this diplomatic silence. One big problem started in 2020. China passed a new national security law for Hong Kong. Hong Kong was a former British territory, and London saw this new law as a broken promise. It meant Hong Kong's freedom was being taken away. The UK reacted strongly. It offered a special visa for Hong Kong people to move to Britain. More than 200,000 people took this chance. Then, in April 2021, British politicians made another big statement. They said China was committing genocide against the Uyghur people in Xinjiang. This meant they believed China was trying to destroy the Uyghur group. The UK was the 4th country to say this. China said these claims were false. Before these events, in 2020, the UK had already made a tough choice. It decided to ban a big Chinese technology company, Huawei, from building its new 5G internet network. This was because of serious security worries. British officials feared that Huawei's equipment could be used for spying. These concerns about spying did not stop. British intelligence agencies, like MI5, became very worried. They said that Chinese government agents were a constant threat to national security, trying to steal secrets every day. This fear of espionage grew larger and larger, hanging over every decision. The golden era was now over. The two countries had moved from being friends to being openly hostile, with many restrictions and disagreements. The relationship was in ruins, and the British economy was struggling. Prime Minister Starmer knew he needed a bold plan. His first move, made in secret and causing much debate, happened just weeks before his trip to Beijing. 3. A new plan for China. The new government, led by Prime Minister Keir Starmer, decided it was time for a fresh approach to China. After Labour won the election in July 2024, they faced big economic challenges. Britain needed stronger economic growth, especially after leaving the European Union, and the country's public debt was very high. In this difficult situation, Starmer's team began to view China differently. They believed China was not just a challenge, but a vital and unavoidable economic partner for Britain's future success. Preparations for Starmer's visit to Beijing were done with great care, often behind the scenes. A major and controversial decision was made just weeks before he left. The UK government approved plans for a large new Chinese embassy in London. This project had been held up for years due to political and security worries. Many security services were very concerned, fearing this mega embassy could become a hub for spying activities in Europe. However, the government saw its approval as a necessary sign of goodwill, an olive branch, to help restart relations and open new doors. Prime Minister Starmer brought a powerful group with him. Almost 60 of Britain's most important business leaders and cultural figures joined the delegation. This included top executives from major companies like HSBC, Aberdeen Group, Airbus, British Airways, AstraZeneca, and GSK. The strong presence of pharmaceutical giants like AstraZeneca highlighted their large existing investments and hopes for future growth in China. Everyone hoped for immense commercial success from this important diplomatic reset. Starmer spoke to his business delegates in Beijing, telling them they were making history and were part of a significant change. He emphasized that the government was outward-looking, eager to find new opportunities, build strong relationships, and always focus on Britain's national interest. The stage was now set for a major step forward. Many deals, potentially worth billions of pounds, were ready. But all these hopes and plans depended on one critical moment: Prime Minister Starmer's face-to-face meeting with China's most powerful leader, President Xi Jinping. 4. The big meeting in Beijing. On January 29th, Prime Minister Keir Starmer took part in the main event of his trip to China. He met with Chinese President Xi Jinping in Beijing inside the Grand Great Hall of the People. This was not just a short chat. The meeting lasted for 3 hours, including serious discussions and a shared lunch. The whole world watched this meeting, seeing it as a clear sign that both leaders thought improving their country's relationship was extremely important. During their talks, both Prime Minister Starmer and President Xi spoke of building a comprehensive strategic partnership. This big phrase meant they aimed for a deep and wide-ranging cooperation between Britain and China. President Xi shared his thoughts on the world, saying it was complex and intertwined. He urged both countries to strengthen their dialogue and work together. He also gave a cryptic warning, saying, "Good things often come with difficulties." He added that leaders should be brave and not avoid challenges if it's right for their country. Xi also seemed to criticize certain actions by other nations, talking about unilateralism, protectionism, and power politics. Many saw this as an indirect message about the United States, especially with Donald Trump's approach to global relations. For his part, Starmer stressed the need for a long-term, consistent, and comprehensive strategic partnership. He later told news reporters that the relationship was in a good place, a strong place, and they had made really good progress. Importantly, Starmer also faced the difficult task of bringing up sensitive topics. He spoke about human rights, especially the case of Jimmy Lai. Jimmy Lai is a British citizen and a media boss from Hong Kong who was in prison. Starmer confirmed they had a respectful discussion about these serious concerns. A positive outcome from the meeting was that President Xi lifted sanctions on British lawmakers who had criticized China's human rights record in Xinjiang since 2021. This 3-hour summit was full of important words and gestures. Yet words alone do not always bring real change. Prime Minister Starmer knew he had to secure actual benefits for the British people back home. The big question now was, what real deals were made, and how many billions of pounds were at stake for Britain? 5. Money and big promises. Prime Minister Keir Starmer's visit to China brought important results for the United Kingdom. One major success was China's agreement to lower taxes on British whiskey. These import taxes will be cut in half, from 10% to 5%. The UK government believes this deal could bring an extra £250 million to the British economy over the next 5 years.
This was a significant win, especially for Scotland's famous whiskey industry. Another positive outcome was the promise of easier travel. China confirmed that British citizens would soon be able to visit China for up to 30 days without needing a visa. This makes it much simpler for people from the UK to travel to China. A very large promise came from AstraZeneca, a big British company. AstraZeneca said it would invest $15 billion in China by 2030. This money will help them make more medicines and do more research in China. It was AstraZeneca's biggest investment in the country ever. Beyond these large agreements, many other British companies made deals. They secured £2.2 billion in export deals and gained more access to Chinese markets, worth another £2.3 billion over 5 years. For example, a British energy company, Octopus Energy, announced plans to work with a Chinese company to develop new energy technology. Also, in a surprise move, both countries agreed to work together to stop human trafficking across the English Channel. This cooperation aims to prevent smugglers from using small boat engines. Starmer used these deals to show why his trip was important. He wanted to prove that talking with China could help Britain's economy. But just as London celebrated these new agreements, a very angry message arrived from America. President Donald Trump had heard the news about Starmer's visit. He was not happy.
President Trump publicly stated that Britain dealing with China was very dangerous, showing his strong disagreement with the new partnership. Chapter 6. A Difficult Friend in America. President Donald Trump was very angry. News of Prime Minister Starmer's trip to China reached him, and he did not like it. Trump publicly warned that Starmer's visit was very dangerous. He also said it was dangerous for Canada to make deals with China. Trump's words showed the big problems Britain faced in global politics. Britain was now caught in a difficult spot between the world's two biggest powers, America and China. America was a very important friend for Britain's safety and defense. But President Donald Trump's actions and words were often hard to predict. For example, he planned to visit China himself, which showed he saw China as a possible partner. However, he had also threatened European friends with extra taxes on their goods because they did not support his idea to buy Greenland. This had made relations with NATO allies very difficult. This changing behavior put a lot of pressure on Prime Minister Starmer. The UK government quickly defended its actions. They made it clear that Washington had known about Starmer's trip and its goals before he left London. Starmer also pointed out that President Trump himself was expected to visit China in the coming months. A British government minister even said that Trump was wrong to call the UK's actions dangerous.
This difficult situation was not unique to Britain. Many other leaders were also looking to China. Prime Minister Mark Carney of Canada, President Emmanuel Macron of France, and leaders from Ireland, Finland, and South Korea had all visited Beijing recently. They were doing this because they felt frustrated with America's often unpredictable foreign policy under Donald Trump. This pattern was called a pivot to China by some. These countries, often called middle powers, felt a strong push to make their own choices. They needed to find a way to work in a world where their main security ally, the United States, was often an unpredictable partner. This meant they tried to keep open good ties with China, even when America disagreed. Starmer's trip showed this difficult truth. Britain was in a tight spot. It had to balance its important friendship with America with the need to engage with China's large economy. This difficult squeeze on Britain was a big challenge, not just a passing problem. It shaped how Britain and other countries tried to find their way in the world. Hard questions to answer. Prime Minister Starmer's trip to China brought many difficult questions. People started to think about the hard choices his government had made. One big problem was about human rights. Just weeks before Starmer flew to Beijing, a British citizen named Jimmy Lai was found guilty in Hong Kong. He owned a newspaper and was put in prison under a very strict security law.
This news made many people in Britain feel sad and angry. Jimmy Lai's son asked the British government to help free his father. He said that his father's freedom should be a key part of any closer friendship with China. The UK Foreign Secretary, Yvette Cooper, also said that the court's decision was wrong. Starmer did talk about Jimmy Lai's case with President Xi Jinping. He said they had a respectful discussion about it. But even after these talks, Jimmy Lai was still in prison. This made some people wonder if simply talking was enough to change things. Another hard question was about national security. Only weeks before Starmer's visit, the British government had agreed to a plan for a very large new Chinese embassy in London. This move had caused a lot of strong anger. Critics were very worried about this new building. They said that such a large embassy could become a place for spying in Europe. The UK's security service MI5 had already warned that Chinese government workers posed a threat to Britain's safety every day. These two issues showed a big problem. Could Britain get important trade deals and money from China? Or would it have to ignore important rules about what is right for human rights and what is safe for national security? Deals were signed, but many people still asked hard questions about what was truly important. What would this new friendship with China mean for Britain's future and its place in the world? 8. What happens next?
Starmer's trip to China has ended. He aimed to make things better between the two countries after many difficult years. He brought some good news back home for Britain's economy. For example, China agreed to lower taxes on British whiskey. This could help British businesses earn hundreds of millions of pounds in the coming years. There was also a promise of easier visa-free travel for British people visiting China for short stays. A big British company, AstraZeneca, also pledged to invest $15 billion in China by 2030. These were important short-term wins for Britain's finances. But the trip also came with many difficult questions and costs. President Donald Trump in the United States was very angry about Britain's actions. He publicly warned that it was very dangerous for Britain to make deals with China. People also worried deeply about human rights. A British citizen, Jimmy Lai, was in prison in Hong Kong, and his case raised hard questions. Some people also feared that the new Chinese mega embassy in London, approved before the trip, could be used for spying against Britain. So Britain faces a very difficult balancing act. It needs money and trade from China to help its economy grow, but it also needs to keep its strong friendship with the United States, its main security partner. And it wants to protect its core values, like human rights and freedom. This means Britain must walk a very fine line, pleasing different sides.
Starmer's trip shows how hard it is for countries in the 21st century. They often have to choose between their economic needs and their security concerns or moral beliefs. There are no easy answers when these things clash. Starmer chose a path of pragmatic engagement, hoping that talking with China would bring good results. He secured some quick wins, but it is still not clear if Britain paid too high a price for these deals. Did it give up too much by not speaking louder about its values? The long-term question for Britain's future and its place in the world is still very much open. Do you think it's possible for a country to maintain strong economic ties with China without compromising its democratic values?
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.